Time to turn to the race for the White House, and two new polls in the United States show Democratic candidate Hillary Clinton in the lead, ahead of rival Donald Trump. As the contest gets down to its final few weeks, comes after a pretty tough week on the campaign trail for the Republican candidate Trump, with multiple women accusing him of sexual assault. Donald Trump has denied the allegations, and he's pointing the finger at the media and what he says is a rigged election.
False stories, all made up. Lies, lies.
Donald Trump on the offensive, ramping up his attacks against Hillary Clinton, his accusers and the media, saying he's the victim of a conspiracy.
The election is being rigged by corrupt media pushing false allegations and outright lies in an effort to elect Hillary Clinton president.
With 23 days to go, a new ABC News Washington Post poll shows Clinton with a slight edge over Trump among likely voters. Clinton's maintaining her lead, but Trump's supporters are sticking with him.
I mean, I think it's amazing that Trump is as close as he is right now, considering the one-sidedness of the news media barrage.
As Trump increasingly claims the election can't be trusted, his supporters are reacting.
If Hillary Clinton gets in, I'm ready for a revolution because we can't have her in.
Trump's running mate Sunday trying to reassure voters.
Donald Trump said in the first debate that we'll respect the will of the American people.
Clinton's running mate Tim Kaine doing damage control after emails supposedly hacked from Clinton's campaign chair were released by WikiLeaks. The emails describing Clinton saying in a speech to Goldman Sachs that people who oppose immigration are fundamentally un-American.
To say that there should be no immigration, yes, that is definitely contrary to the best values of our country that were laid out in the Declaration of Independence and since.
The Clinton campaign continues to question the accuracy of the emails.
All right, let's bring in our panel this afternoon, Grahame Morris and Bruce Hawker. Let's start with US politics, because not only the polls there to talk about, but look, Donald Trump's also said ahead of their third and final presidential debate, happens Thursday lunchtime Australian time, that they should both be drug tested. Grahame, good idea?
Well, look, I'm allergic to most things in spring, and he's in the middle of autumn, but he's the one who's sniffing all the way through the debates.
Yes.
Look, isn't it extraordinary that no matter how bad Donald Trump is going, he's still in the race? That Hillary Clinton is so sort of loathed by a certain segment of the community that bloody Donald Trump,
this is a good point.
We are, a month out, and he's still close enough.
I was looking at one of the polls today, Washington Post ABC News poll. He's only 4 points behind Hillary Clinton. Now, you think about the week he's just had, right, where this videotape's emerged and, what is it, about 8 women have now accused him of acting inappropriately or assaulting them, and he's still just 4 points behind. I mean, that's amazing. Bruce, what do you think, though? He says Hillary Clinton was pumped up on performance-enhancing, well, he suspects, pumped up on performance-enhancing drugs at their last debate. I can't see a drug test happening before Thursday's encounter, but nonetheless, he's setting the stage, I guess, for a further conspiracy here, that there's something going on.
Well, I don't know if she'd fail a drug test, but he'd certainly fail a dope test. And I think that's where he's really headed with this sort of an argument at the moment. But on the other hand, there is some method in the madness, because he has to keep his own supporters pumped up. And you heard that woman in that clip saying, I'd support a revolution if Hillary was
and
elected.
This is the more serious question here, isn't it? What do they do if he loses? He's already said it's rigged. He's got his supporters out there saying, jail Hillary Clinton, there'll be a revolution if we don't win. What could potentially happen here, Bruce?
I don't think anything potentially will happen there. I think there might be some unhappiness amongst a lot of his supporters, but life will continue. I don't think there's any suggestion in truth that, suddenly, law and order is going to fall apart and we're going to have some sort of revolution. I think what he's doing is also really just trying to establish his alibi in a way before the election. So in the event that he does lose, and I think he will lose despite that poll sounding pretty close, then he's got an excuse and life will continue. That's my read on it.
And Mike Pence, his running mate, Grahame, also was quite clear that they will accept the will of the American people, and that's an important thing to say.
Yeah, look, there are going to be enough grumpy Republicans, or at least Trump supporters, not even Republicans, after this election, and they will say, oh, it was rigged. But I've seen this happen in Australia, where people have said, oh, there's multiple voting, there's all sorts of things. Just imagine in the US, if you wanted to affect any race, you'd have to have about 1,000 buses full going to one particular town or city. Now, you know, and it would take some organising. The idea that didn't leak in a bar on a Saturday night is just bizarre, that you'd be able to keep that quiet. You know, it's just plain silly. And in Australia, when it's been tested, in an entire electorate, there are only 3 votes unaccounted for.
All right, let's talk Australian politics. Bruce, Bob Day announcing that he's resigning, his company's in liquidation, and as a result, he says he's leaving the parliament. Do you think this changes the status quo much?
Probably not. Of course, it'll come down to what his replacement says. We've got this Ricky Lambert seems to be the front runner to act as his replacement, and I know that there was the second person on the second candidate, whose name I'm sorry I can't recall, a Kenyan-born woman, is also in the race. But if they take the same sort of attitude that he's taken, then, you know, obviously nothing has changed. But he was pretty much out there as a bit of a free marketeer for somebody from Family First, I thought. It didn't necessarily fit with the mould that you would expect of that party, because, you know, in many ways they are quite, you know, socially conservative as well, and fiscally sort of more hesitant to be free marketeers in the way in which he has proven himself to be. And of course, you know, he lived by that free market sword.
Well, it raises a good
died by
question.
it.
Yeah, it raises a good question when you look at his time, and also Steve Fielding, the former Family First senator. Graham, are they driven by the party position on everything, or is it more about their own individual position on pieces of legislation?
Look, there's a bit of individualism in it, but for example, Bob Day's Chief of Staff, he's been around Family First at a state level and federal level for a long time, so he sort of understands the culture of the organisation. Can I just say something about Bob Day? I've known Bob Day for 25 years, and I think it is a real shame that he's not in the Senate. He is a builder, literally a builder. He builds entire suburbs, you know, which makes him sort of different to many of the other people in the parliament who are trade union people or, you know, political people like me. He was a builder, and I think it's a real shame he's not there, and particularly as I think on many economic issues, he was sort of on the government side. Some of the family issues, not so much, but, you know, he had quite a nice little career for a while, and it looked like going for quite a while. But now he's doing the right thing and has gone back to have a look at those people who might be wounded by his building company.
Yeah, well, you can imagine whoever gets the nod to take that Senate seat, there'll be plenty of wooing going on, particularly from the government as it looks to get those IR bills through. I want to get both your thoughts on the situation around Crown Resorts. 3 Australian staff members amongst 18 of their staffers now caught up, detained in China on gambling crimes. Basically, it's an offence to try and lure high rollers to come and gamble in your casino. You can go and spruik the tourism benefits of your casino, great hotel bed and restaurants and so on, but apparently it's against the law to actually try and entice them to come and gamble in your casino. And it's not the first time this has happened. Some Koreans last year on similar charges. But, Bruce, it is a reminder, isn't it, of what a very, very different system they have in China, because this would be regarded normal business here, or any country really, to go and encourage people to come and gamble in your casino.
Yeah, and the worrying thing about the way in which they do these things is the selective nature of its application. You know, they'll turn a blind eye to something for years and years and years, and then, of course, it just becomes accepted practice to do whatever it is. In this case, enticing high rollers to come and spend a lot of money in Australian casinos, and then they'll just change on a sixpence, and you don't know why they've done that.
It makes you think, doesn't it? Is it retaliation over something that Australia might have done?
Well, you know, there may be a little bit of that. Well, let's go out there and poke one of their highest profile figures, and because, you know, we're not happy with Australia's position on the South China Sea or whatever. Or maybe it's because some group within the government has decided to assert itself over another group inside the government, and these poor devils happen to be the people who become the meat in the sandwich. And they are not the first. And people get jailed, and they go to jail for a long, long time in a system where, where if anyone really thinks a rule of law operates, they're kidding themselves. It's not like that at all. It's a very, very tough environment in which to work, and it's no surprise that Australians and others feel very cautious about investing in China in that way. And of course, these are the same people who get very upset when Australia tries to put up rules and laws to prevent them taking advantage of market conditions here in a way that that disadvantages Australians, say with the property market.
Grahame, how worried do you think the government will be about what's going on here?
Well, our foreign officials are going to earn their money on this one. I don't know what happened. We think it's you're not allowed to market to the high rollers. We think that's what it is. But, Jamie Packer's got an army of lawyers there. You'd think somebody would have said, hey, boss, we better pull our heads in here in Macau. And all of a sudden, his share price today has dropped 10%. We don't know what it's going to mean for the big new casino in Sydney, which relies on
just on it doesn't have poker machines. It's largely, the business case is largely built on the high rollers.
The whole agreement, the licence was, hey, we won't hurt the local community or mainly gamblers in Australia. We'll just bring in these high rollers. And everyone said, oh, beauty. But Bruce is right. This business of just have a look at the local laws, whether or not you're dealing in marijuana or billions of dollars. Have a look at the local law of Australia and just make sure you're getting it right. But our foreign officials are about to win their money.
Grahame Morris, Bruce Hawker, thanks both very much for joining us this afternoon. We'll catch you again next week. All right, we'll take a quick break right now and then back with the last word.